the next question, and again, as we're alternating candidates, Mr. Childress, this also comes to you first. What do you think are the current and future challenges for the Livingston County Sheriff's Department?
Thank you. The current challenge is school safety and drugs in our county. And that's something that anybody who works for me, anybody that knows me and knows me well, knows that I take very seriously. And I'm going to be found doing everything I can to meet the challenge head on. We have in the last 4 years, we will continue to in the next 4 years. The school safety, once again, our Safer Schools initiative was initiated by our office, and it is a extremely well put together program. Is it perfect? No program is perfect, but I can tell you this, we will be working on it to get it perfected as best we can. As far as the drug situation, our statistics show that our current proactive unit, which is highlighted to deal with the drugs and any gang input, which there may be some in Livingston County, but we're thankful that we've kept that to a minimum, and we'll continue to work on that. The statistics show that the current drug unit, proactive unit, has by far more arrests, more prosecutions, and more convictions than they did 4 years ago when I took over as sheriff. So we will continue that trend, and you can look forward to us working securely and heavily on that issue. Thank you.
Mr. Weiser, we address the same question to you. What do you think are the current and future challenges for the Livingston County Sheriff's Department?
Well, I believe I pretty much hit on the school safety and the drugs, and those comments will hold true with this question also. The further is funding. You know, how to fund your sheriff's department without putting too much tax burden on the taxpayers of Livingston County. I do believe there's grant money still out there to help with the financial burdens of the county sheriff's department. It does come down to current bids, bidding out for equipment, not actually going with the cheapest bid, but going with the most qualified bid for equipment. So as I've touched on the school safety and the drugs, once again, I have zero tolerance for drugs. I have for 25 years. I was in law enforcement, and there's no room for drugs in and around Livingston County. People ask me the question, can you stop drugs? The question is very simple. No. You can control it, you can slow it down, you can monitor, but if somebody tells you they're going to stop drug activity in a certain part of the world or the region, especially if the county is geographically large as Livingston County, they're not telling you the truth. So it goes back to, I've answered the question about drugs and schools, and I would go as far as say the funding, and make sure we stay up with modern times with the officers having the equipment they need to do their job correctly and proficiently. Thank you.
And as we've been doing, Mr. Weiser, you get to stay at the microphone, and the next question is, describe how you intend to continue implementing leadership development of employees within the department.
I will follow the guidelines that are set forth in the Livingston County Sheriff's Department policy and procedure as far as implementing promotions. I do believe that the Livingston County has a human resource office. I will use their guidelines. I do believe that true personal connection with your employees is very important. You can have an employee with exemplary in many areas that has no communication skills. I do believe that communication skills are very important. Once again, you hear my word, communication. For promotions, I think you should promote people who want to do the job, who are qualified to do the job, and most importantly, who want to do the job. Just because you've been in an employment for some place for 10 or 15 or 30 years, in my eyes, it's not the automatic right to be promoted. Thank you.
Mr. Childress, the same question. Describe how you intend to continue implementing leadership development of employees, within the department.
We currently have leadership training that our top leaders attend, and we'll continue that. When it comes to promotions, that's something that's a very tricky issue with the budgeting process and with the people who hold the purse strings for the sheriff's office. So, you can say that You can look at budgeting, but some of that has to be approved, some of it does not. But we will certainly work on keeping our leaders improving on their task as we have. And any leadership training that's available, I make for certain that our leadership is heavily involved in that. Leadership training, strategic planning, my leaders and my administration is very heavily involved in that, and they will continue to be heavily involved in that.
Thank you. Gentlemen, I just want to thank you both for your answers so far. We are not quite finished. Sheriff, the next question will go to you, and the question reads as follows. Because jail operations are the responsibility of the sheriff by statute, what do you foresee as short-term and or long-term challenges for the jail operation?
Thank you. Short-term challenges are making for certain that the jail has the proper correction officer capacity to work with the jail inmate capacity. As many of you are aware, we house Cook County and federal inmates, and we have been very blessed in the housing of them as we keep any incidents to a minimum. And that's done by our very professionally trained and well-educated staff that we have in the jail. Long term, I would say that we would be looking at doing what we can to keep that capacity going in a forward direction, to keep the funding that we have, which I know that many of our forefathers and our bean counters, so to speak, depend on and rely on. And we're going to do everything we can to keep that going. And that's going to be our long-term goal, is to make for certain that we're using the jail in the best capacity that it was built for. We're very blessed to have a 188-bed jail, and as normal conditions have it, our local population, meaning local inmates, usually average only around 50 to 60 maximum. A lot of times it's around the 40 range. So a lot of that population that we have is from Cook County and federal inmates, and the county gets a lot of money from that, and I think they depend on it to help their coffers operate more smoothly. So that would be our long-term goal.
Mr. Weiser, I'll address the same question to you, and it is because jail operations are the responsibility of the sheriff by statute, what do you foresee as short-term and or long-term challenges of our jail operations?
Well, short-term, I think we hit on that before with the ability or inability to keep qualified jailers in the facility. Short-term also, as we talked about, money coming out of Cook County and out of other counties housing inmates inside our county. I do have concerns on short-term and long-term of the physical effects it's going to have on our corrections officers. They are our employees, they're not Cook County employees. I do believe that they bring a lot of money in, but on the short-term and long-term, what's the wear and tear on our own personal employees? Also believe on short-term and long-term, what is the wear and tear on our jail? That jail was years and years in the making, and the county board and Sheriff McCarty sat down for months to implement a plan to get our jail up and running in the highest capacity it could be. I do believe that the long-term wear and tear on that jail is not worth the $50 a day we're getting out of Cook County to house an inmate. $50, if they break one glass and break a window, you have to call a special person to take care of it. There might be minimal incidents, but you know what, there's still incidents. Once again, the short term, the health and well-being of our employees in that facility, and long term, the health and well-being of our employees, and long term, what's the wear and tear on our jail? Putting money in your coffer is one thing, but if you have $1 million this year, put it into $1 million next year, all of a sudden, so it gets burnt down, what are you going to do? So the long term for that is employee health of mind, and how we can protect our property that the Livingston County citizens work so hard to save their tax dollars to put a facility we're proud of. Thank you.
Mr. Weiser, Mr. Childress, we just have a couple more questions to go, and then we'll move to your closing statements. Mr. Weiser, the next question is, what do you think are the current threats to safety of the citizens of the county?
The most serious threat is going to be drugs. The opiate problem is out of control. I do believe, with that being said, that the law enforcement has stepped up on opiate convictions. But I have to step one more farther. I think what came above us was the medical field saying, you know what the doctors and nurses said? We're giving out too many pills. They're hitting the streets. So I think we have to give a little kudos to the medical staff and our legislatures for finally saying, you know what, we have to control this problem because our local law enforcement is struggling with it. That is a problem that is foremost in the minds of almost anybody in this room. Secondly, it comes back down to the school safety. We have to have school safety. And I've hit on, what my ideas and plans might be for taking that to the next step. And, going down drugs, school safety, then just safety of our citizens, period. There are so many scams going against our elderly out there, it's ridiculous. I mean, not everybody, but somebody in this room, most people in this room have got the phone call wanting money for something. When you have an elderly mom, dad, aunt, uncle, they don't realize what's going on and they get taken. So I have the drugs, we have school safety, and we have the protection of our citizens. Thank you.
And Mr. Childress, the same question. What do you think are the current threats to the safety of the citizens of the county?
Thank you. While I may not agree with my opponent on a number of issues, I must say that I do agree with him on that. Drugs is the #1 problem in our community. The opiate situation is out of control. Fortunately, we at the Sheriff's Office for the last 4 years have been working very feverishly and very diligent on that issue and on that problem, which is why we've instituted a safe passage program, because we realize we cannot arrest our way out of this situation. So, we've made a safe passage program, or instituted a safe passage program, whereby addicts or people that are using, if they want help and they come to the police and ask for help, we will help them and not just arrest them and put them in jail. We have a program where they can come in and turn in their paraphernalia, their drugs, and not be arrested, and we will get them a place in rehab to try to get them back on the path of cleaning up and straightening up. The other issue, and I must agree with him, is Safer School Initiative, which is why we instituted the Safer School Initiative, to make our schools safer. And we will continue to work on that program and add to it, so that, because in my opinion, and the way I feel about it, nothing is more precious than our children. So whatever it takes, we will keep them safe, and we will do whatever we can to make for certain that they're safe. I know we've heard stories most recently about Florida and about issues down there with the recent school shooting. I will say that I will be having a meeting with my people to let them know that no instances that occurred like that will be tolerated in Livingston County. Thank you.
And gentlemen, we have one more prepared question, and then we will move on to your closing statements. And Mr. Childress, this is addressed to you first, and it deals with an idea you just touched on. A sheriff's department handles more than just law enforcement. There are situations that call for crowd control, disaster response, and sometimes tactical actions when a department is involved with developing situations. So, in the wake of the school shooting in Florida, how will you keep your deputies prepared for these kinds of situations?
Thank you. Constant training. Constant meeting on issues as they relate to school safety, as they relate to officer safety, as they relate to public safety. There's no other way than to make for certain that your officers are continually training on that, you're continually meeting on that, and you're continually addressing the issues that can arise. I'm thankful to say that we have a very, very good relationship with the surrounding police departments. Matter of fact, I think that it's better than it's ever been. I can pick up the phone and I can call my comrades next door at State Police, and I will have people flooding this county so fast it'll make your head swim. Very great relationship with the Sheriff's Office, Pontiac Police Department, Dwight Police Department, and the Fairbury Police Department. That's how it happens, folks. When there's a crisis, okay, we come together, we respond, and we respond quickly and effectively.
And Mr. Weiser, we give you an opportunity to answer the same question. A sheriff's department handles more than just law enforcement. There are situations that call for crowd control, disaster response, and tactical actions when a department is involved with developing situations. So in the wake of the school shooting in Florida, how will you keep your deputies prepared for these kinds of situations?
Well, keeping the repair starts with being prepared. I do agree with Tony that training is a must in law enforcement. It is like a school drill or a fire drill. You can't do it once a year. You have to consistently train for what is anticipated to happen. Unfortunately, you don't know what's going to happen in a situation like that. There's the training comes in, and also the officers, after a few years of being on the job, a lot of officers in the crowd today, they'll tell you to get an instinct of what's going on. They know that what the situation that they're trained for may be varied from that training program, but they have the ability and instinct and years of service to know that they do something different. What was that half the question? Sorry.
I'm sorry, what?
Was there another half that question?
No, not really. Just a question of how you're going to keep deputies trained for more coordinated efforts.
All right. And as far as the other departments, I started in law enforcement in 1986. I have a good working rapport still this day with law enforcement across the area. I do believe that Tony's very correct. When things come apart, the color of the uniform, the state trooper green, county brown, the blues, whatever it is, does not make a difference. You might not disagree on politics all the time between departments, but when something happens, you can pick a phone up. I had the ability to pick that phone up and get the departments rolling my direction. In the past, I've worked with several departments, going over from the FBI to the DEA to ATF, to McLean County, Ford County, Iroquois County. I had a reputation, and I will remain that reputation, to pick a phone up. If I need help, it'll be here. Also, on the other hand, I've had calls in the middle of the night as being the chief of police saying, Jack, I need help. I need your dog in Dwight. Out of bed, call a canine officer. That dog would go to Dwight before they had their canine officer. Thank you.
That is the end of the prepared questions, gentlemen. And again, we thank you for your responses. And once again, we return to ballot order to give you an opportunity for your closing statement. So, Mr. Weiser.
Thank you very much. In closing, I'd like to thank everybody for interest in Livingston County, all the citizens. It means a lot to me to be able to stand on the stage and address the citizens of Livingston County. I hope on March 20th, I will be elected to sheriff-elect for the election to be able to address them in the future. Before I go further, I'm going to tell you what I won't do as sheriff. I will never subsidize. I will never use a subordinate to go to a county board meeting to ask for something for me. I will not use a county squad car for personal use. I refuse to use taxpayer fuel for personal gain. I will not use county equipment for a part-time job. I will not have a part-time job inside this county or outside this county. I will not have more than one car assigned to me at a time. And here's some things I will do. I will be available to citizens, county board members, and other government officials to meet with them when they need advice or just conversation. Once again, communication. I will use the state policies when conducting bids on vehicles and other equipment. I will state the state statute and the county policies. I will adhere to the hiring practices of the Livingston County Sheriff's Department. I promise to fight hard to combat drugs and promote public safety. I will be financially responsible in my term as sheriff, In my personal life and in my professional life, I've always been very professionally handling of my money. I want to be your full-time sheriff. I believe I did a good job as your full-time sheriff. On March 20th, I'd like you to vote for me, Jack Weiser, Livingston County Sheriff. Thank you.
And Mr. Childress, this is your opportunity for a closing statement.
Thank you, Mr. Weinberger. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for joining us tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to revisit the promises I made 4 years ago and how I delivered on those promises, as well as answering your questions. I humbly ask for your vote. I know many of you, and many of you know me. I thank you not only for your support, but more importantly for your friendship. As I travel throughout our county, I try to get to know as many folks as I can, their concerns, their hopes, and their fears. It helps me not only be a better person, but a better sheriff, better able to serve the people of Livingston County. You know my record, my career progress from patrol deputy to detective, interim sheriff to elected sheriff, and I am now here asking you to re-elect me. It is a record of 27 years of uninterrupted and unbroken service. Unlike my opponent, I've not been drawing a pension in retirement from law enforcement for the last 6 years. Your sheriff has many responsibilities. It is a 24/7, totally awesome responsibility for more than 70 employees, plus running the jail, a K-9 unit, animal control, not to mention the day-to-day protection of almost 40,000 dear and precious people. I've been doing this for the past 4 years, unlike my opponent, who's been out of law enforcement, drawing a retirement, and sitting on the couch for the last 6 years, delivering auto parts across the countryside. With all due respect to the police chiefs, being a sheriff is a whole different ballgame. My opponent ran a department serving a population of roughly 3,900 people, with a total of around 6 or 7 officers. Huge difference. I came here tonight to be positive, and I will continue to be. He isn't laying out his vision. Instead, he wants to attack me, attacking my record for things I've done because he doesn't have a record. That is not what the voters want to hear. My opponent has not made one honest, legitimate criticism about the operation of the sheriff's office. In fact, he's been recruited by a small minority of county board members that campaigned against me 4 years ago when I soundly defeated my opponent the first time. I've sat here patiently tonight listening to him make wild statements about communications. We all know communication is a two-way street. There are many good county board members, and I've gotten along great with them and have communicated great with them. Unfortunately, there's a small minority that has not been the case. These same board members have made it known that they did not want me elected 4 years ago. They do not like me, and they have done everything within their power to sabotage my administration since I was elected. They are the same ones who drafted my opponent to run against me. I know the public wants government to work together, which is something that I have done in my first term, and the public gets frustrated at times, but I also have to set the record straight if it is misrepresented. I think if you look at the progress of the sheriff's office that's been made in the first term and the smooth operation of the department, that you will see that I'm the best person to run the department. I thank you and I ask you for your vote. God bless you and God bless America.
Well, that concludes the prepared portion of the evening. I'm Todd Weinberger with WJEZ. I want to thank Jody Hughes and her committee for their wonderful work on this. Ken Casson with the Central Illinois Farm Network, also here sponsoring this event. Mr. Impey, are we ready to call it a night? We are. We want to thank you all for coming, as these gentlemen have been good enough to remind us. The primary is on March 20th. Thank you and have a good night.